Yeah, don't forget the Guardians are playing a doubleheader today against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And if you want to get to the game, just download the Game Time app. View from all the seats in the venue and get the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download Game Time today, lowest price guaranteed.
So Earl sent us this question, which came from Steve Becker yesterday. EP Steve wanted to know when this new dome opens, which I think, Jason, 28 season? 29, 28?
28 would be the last year of the lease. It was a 30-year lease, so 28 would be the last year of the
29?
lease. Right? Is that right? Or is it 29? Well, it was a 30-year lease. Whatever. 30 years from 99.
So
28.
29.
29. No, 28, because 99, 2000, and then 28 years. So
then,
28 would be the last year of the lease.
So then 29 would be the first year.
29 would be the first.
So when the new dome opens in 2020.
Who's on first?
Who's on the team? That's the question. Which guys on the current roster today do you think still have a chance to be in a Browns uniform in week 1 of the 2029 season when the Browns play their inaugural game at the Brook Park Dome? It's a short list.
It is a very short list.
How many you said in what year?
29.
It's 5 years from now.
Okay.
So you got 24 season, 25 season, 26 season, 27 season, 28 season, and then so it'll be 6 seasons from now.
Honestly, Zach Zinter.
I have a very short list.
Like maybe DeJuan.
Zinter, MJ Emerson, and Mike Hall Jr. And DeJuan if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
That was the big question
Mike Hall.
And hopefully Deshaun Watson, because quarterbacks can play. I mean, Deshaun's 28. He'd be 34.
Yeah.
That's 10 years before Brady decided to hang it up.
It's funny because I asked that exact question. Earl, I think you were on the panel. And I said, when do you think Deshaun will be here when the dome opens? And I think we all said no. Right? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, you're right. I think for me, because me and Mike talked about this yesterday, it's Zach Zinter, Mike Hall Jr., DeJuan Jones if he's healthy, and then if MJ Emerson keeps, climbing that ladder to be an elite number 1 corner one day, then he'll be on that team as well. But outside of those guys, it's maybe Jock.
JLK is young enough.
Could be Denzel.
Well, Denzel's 20.
Well, how old's Denzel?
I think he's 26, so he'd be 32. Maybe. JOK's a maybe on the back end of a deal.
Denzel's 27.
He's 33, probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
JOK's a little closer. It's essentially the guys they've drafted
right now.
This year,
yeah,
and maybe
year.
the year before.
I mean, maybe Cedric Tillman if he pops.
Yeah, maybe Cedric Tillman. But the real question is Deshaun Watson. And you hope, because if he's here when it opens, that means he's played well enough to get a contract extension from the Browns, to get that second deal from Cleveland. Yes. He likes Cleveland enough to sign that second deal, stay here. That would be the best case scenario to open the dome with Deshaun Watson under center for the Browns. But there's a long way to go before we get there.
Yeah.
How many more years is on his deal?
This year, then 2 more. So he'd be in the middle of his next contract with Cleveland, but he'd be 34 years old, which is not that old for quarterbacks.
So all they need to do is, this is the way quarterback work. Like, I mean, they thought long and hard about giving Baker that money too. Like, starting over with quarterbacks is kind of wild. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's tough, yeah.
If all they got to do is, if he have a good year this year, and then say the next year he has a decent year, but it ain't as good as the one he had this year, they're going to sign him to an extension, because they're going to say, well, look, I mean, he had 2 good years in a row. And how do you get one? So if they are decent and the team is too good around him for him to be terrible, what's the other way you can get a quarterback? Your draft pick ain't high enough. Do you want to mortgage a bunch of other picks to move up and get another guy? How would you get a quarterback and pivot if Deshaun is like bad?
You'd have to get lucky. You'd have to draft a guy in the second round. Or, if it's not going well, you would take a guy in the first round, middle of the end of the first round next year, maybe the year after. But we're a long ways from that. Or you'd find a guy in the second, third round and develop him like a Dak or a Tony Romo or one of those guys, and you get lucky. But I tend to agree with you. If he's here when the dome opens, that's a win.
It's a huge win.
Because that means he's turned it around. But short of that, I can't sit here today and say I expect him to be on this team.
That's a lot of years. What is that? That's a lot of years.
6 years, 6 seasons from now.
You weren't here. I'm gonna give you more hope about Deshaun. I told this to Bull the other day. I was thinking about this the other day. when we talk about like the amount of time that he's missed and can he reclaim his former self when he's missed so much time, it's a different sport, but there's a prime example of a guy out there who lost 5 years to injury and became completely irrelevant, and nobody thought another thing about him, and he's a freaking all-star and Cy Young candidate today, Chris Sale at the Atlanta Braves. Sale in Boston was just a wreck. Ton of injuries, ton of arm injuries, season ending. Nothing was going right. They traded him to Atlanta, and he's back to his former self. In his mid-30s, like he's like 34, 35. So it can happen. Like, I know it's a different sport, but if you can do it in baseball, you can do it as an NFL quarterback. So there's because we kept saying, like, how often does a guy miss this much time and then reclaim?
Yeah.
But one example still means it's extremely infrequent.
Absolutely.
However, there is proof,
that it can
tangible, evidential proof that
it can happen. Well, especially when it's been injuries that have cost you, which has been the case for him.
Yeah.
At least last year, that was the case for him. When it's injuries that take it away, if your body can get healthy and you can stay healthy, you can reclaim it.
You know, it's crazy. I say, I want my yards, right? I want my corners, just like Avon Barksdale. I want my yards, man. But if the second thing that I want is the games. I just feel like if he plays 17 games, right? He plays all of them. He starts all of them, right? The numbers will be there.
Yes, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
So to me, that's why when you say, are you going to play Deshaun Watson? I was sitting there thinking about this on the drive in. Why are you going to play him in the preseason? I'm like, if I was Kevin Stefanski, that is your worst nightmare, right? Like, you have a long-term contract. Andrew Berry has a long-term contract. You can withstand Deshaun Watson playing poorly a couple of games in the beginning of the season because he's rusty.
Can't have him get hurt.
But you can't survive. I mean, you can, but that puts you in such a bad place where
it caps you.
Now it's like the rest of the year you're sitting here talking about the same. It's almost to a point where you want to end all dialogue. You just don't want to talk about it. I want to end it. I'm going to make sure he gets through this season. That's why you talk about people putting people in there to quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
Hey, I tell Dorsey, no. If you want to run a trick play with read options, I don't want to see none of that.
Well, they got some RPOs in the offense now. That's certainly a part of it. And Deshaun has said himself on his podcast that he likes to operate off-platform best, off-schedule. That's where he excels at, which puts himself at risk of taking hits, but it also puts him in a position to make dynamic, down-the-field plays.
Yep.
And there's a fine balance between reckless and aggressive, and he has to thread that needle perfectly, but I'm not willing to take out those plays from Deshaun Watson because that's what makes Deshaun Watson special.
There was a play at the Greenbrier where, again, it's the Greenbrier. Like, this is far from an NFL game. But he's sort of like, he rolled left, completed the pass. It looked pretty. It looked good. But I was sitting there with Zach, and we both said, that's where you get hurt. Because he totally left himself exposed. He's going left, and just the way that he sort of opened himself up, it's like, that's how you're going to get hurt.
You know what I got respect for? I got respect for Patrick Mahomes because when I watch him and watch the documentaries that he's a part of, he practices that crap.
Yeah.
He practices how to fall. He practices how to contort or bend. So if he does it in the game, it's second nature. He practices all these little small things to keep himself on the field. And if you're gonna play like that, like you gotta be all in on playing like that.
Yeah.
You gotta have the conditioning, the training, understanding the down and distance, knowing when to fold them. Because like you said, like when you're contorting and moving and throwing the ball, it ain't about what happens when you throw it. It's about what happens when you let it go.
When you land.
And you land. Where's these
and who's on top of you?
Right. That is just crazy.
Wasn't it Tua that like practiced falling last year?
Yeah, Tua after the concussion.
Yeah.
They said like you're gonna have 2 years left in your career if you don't learn how to fall and take sacks. He started doing judo.
Yeah.
And learned like judo toss and he essentially learned how to get tossed, which sounds terrible, but like he learned.
You got tossed up? That's crazy.
But he learned how to like fall and contort and make it so his head wasn't smashing against the ground when he got hit. Yeah. And to his credit, Tua went from a guy that had serious concerns Could he last an entire NFL season? To missing like 4 snaps last year. It worked.
It's like playing Madden. Like you throwing the ball around, you scoring. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna just keep throwing this rock. No, bro. Sometimes you got to take sacks. Sometimes you got to throw the ball away, and sometimes you don't need to be taking all the. Listen, Tom Brady used to see a guy coming free, he just fall.
Peyton Manning would do that too. Yeah.
Like
one hit is, and we saw what happened against Tennessee when Deshaun got hurt. The initial hit.
Yes.
And then he missed the San Francisco game, or he missed the Baltimore game, and the San Francisco game came back. We didn't even know in the moment that's what happened. Like, he didn't get knocked out of the game, but it's those kind of hits that if he can avoid will help the Browns be in the best position come playoff time to reach their ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Steve Becker, I don't know if you guys saw his text.
No.
Wants to know, I'll just tell you what it was. Wants to know, in 2029 when the Dome opens, we talked about the players, that is technically after the extensions for Berry and Stefanski run out.
Yeah.
Will Stefanski be the head coach for the first game within the Dome, and will Andrew Berry still be the GM?
I'm going to say yes to both, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm going to say yes to both because that would be, 10 years?
It'll be Stefanski's 9th season because 2020 was his first. No, 10, yeah.
It'd be 10 years.
10 years for both. Can you imagine 10 years of stability at those two positions?
How many NFL coaches have lasted 10 years or going in their 10th year?
There's like 4 in football right now. Tomlin,
That's it? I would have guessed more than that.
No, it's tiny.
I would have guessed not. I would have guessed probably 7 or 8.
Nope. I'll pull
Tomlin,
it up right
Andy Reid,
Harbaugh.
Yeah, John Harbaugh.
Longest tenured NFL coaches current right now. It's 3. We named them. Those are the 3.
Those are the 3.
You ready
Obviously,
for who's after
Belichick's
that?
Gone.
4. There's 3 coaches in 4th with 7 years. McDermott, McVay, and Shanahan.
Those are year 7.
Yep. And then Kevin Stefanski is tied for technically 5th on this list with 5 years. With
The Bengals guy.
Zach Taylor.
Mm.
Oh, I know. Those two are at 5. Taylor and LaFleur. And then Stefanski's at
Who is it, 7?
Well, they list the what's weird because they put the ties all as one.
Shanahan.
Tomlin, it goes Tomlin, Harbaugh, Reed.
Okay.
17, 16, 11 in that order. McDermott, McVay, Shanahan all have 7.
I think Shanahan makes it to 10. I don't think McVay does.
He'll probably retire before
Yeah,
then.
I don't think McVay makes it to 10.
McDermott was on the
He won't
outs
make it to
last
10.
year. I'd
He
be
won't make it
surprised.
to 10. But I think Shanahan can make it to 10.
LaFleur and Zach Taylor both have 5 years.
No, I don't think either one of them do.
I
Maybe
think
Taylor.
LaFleur. I think LaFleur's a
You
really
think
good
LaFleur?
coach. I think he's a really good coach. And then after that,
I say Taylor because the Bengals kept Marvin Lewis around as
forever.
long.
And then after that, McCarthy and Stefanski.
I don't know if it's a misconception, but the one thing I do believe about Jimmy and D is they crave stability at those spots. They just have never been able to find the right people to put there. And I think they realize now, what they have. And I think they're going to do it. I mean, again, they gave Hugh Jackson an extension. That's how desperate they were for stability.
After what? 0-16,
Oh,
right?
after...
Or 1-15?
Yeah, I can't remember now which one it was, but they gave him a 1-year extension because they were trying so desperately to get some stability at that spot. So they want that. They just haven't been able to find it. I think now that they realize they have it right, I do think I'm going to go out on a limb and say they'll be here.
I could see why they built the Dome, and it's like you talk about 6 years. I mean, Jimmy and D Haslam are both 70. I mean, in 6 years, that means you're 76. Like, at that age, or at that time, you looking for legacy, and you trying to figure out. You just realize how long that is. Like, like they got to make it not be morbid or anything.
No, it's a fair point, G. It's a good point.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's 6 more years. Like, anything can happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that's why they kind of, Mary Kay says, hey, it hit a turning point. Now that turning point was some days you just wake up, you're like, hold on, I can't be going back and forth for a whole nother year. We need to get this finished and completed because this is going to take some time to get done. Like, and I don't know if that means the Dome is going to be done is the Dome guaranteed to be done by the lease?
Oh, it'll be done. It'll be done.
How long do you think it'll take?
4 years. Probably 3-4 years to build. Well, that's not true. Probably less than that. Although with harsh winters in Ohio, the funding, like you got to figure out the funding on the front end, obviously first, and again, I did a ton of work on Minnesota, and I think Minnesota from the ballot to the doors opening was about 4 years. So they have, like, they need to go. They have time, but they need to go.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting to the point where they got to put their foot in the ground and make a decision here.
Yeah,
But they do. It'll be open by 2029.
If that lease is done by 28, if that's the final year, it'll be ready for 29. Trust me. They're not going to build the dome, but then also play a year in between stadiums. Like that's not a possibility.
Yeah, and they have time. And especially if they're not taking it to the ballot. They definitely have time.
And then so they'll probably implode the stadium?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to put there, but I would imagine there's no need to have it there at that point.
You know what kind of credit score you got to have to just get a stadium?
Higher than 700.
Right.
Is there a max credit score?
Yeah, 850.
850.
If he's like the highest it goes?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Like that's wild, lady. I ain't filling out no credit card for a T-shirt in the mall for that, man. Like $850. Like let me get that. Let me get a stadium, dog.
You get your Cavs throw blanket with the stadium.
You know how y'all almost. Hey, y'all don't do that. That is predatory. You shouldn't do that. Don't be signing up for that stuff. That almost killed my credit when I was younger, bro. That and having bills in my name when I was young. I didn't even know I had a cable bill back in the day, but I did.